Hey everybody, this is Grace. In this video, I'm going to talk about when a person grows up in a dysfunctional family or narcissistic family, and they're taught that they don't deserve things like others, even themselves, and or they're taught that they don't need them. Something along this line. Now, I did a video, I mentioned some things about clothing. Well, let's go beyond that. And some parents may tell the child that flat out that they don't deserve anything. They may have it themselves, and they say, well, they work hard for their money, and you're a child, and they insinuate that you don't deserve it because you don't work, and you're a child, and you can't work. But they'll find some way to make it to where you realize that you don't deserve it. Okay, in their mind, you don't deserve it, and that you're just a burden on them. So whatever they give you is just because they have to. Clothing, but it's going to be like I mentioned that. I think I mentioned that video that it's bad. It's not good. It's not decent enough. And it causes you problems, like getting picked on in school. Some people would say, oh, that's very materialistic of kids and all that and everything. But that's another thing that they might do, is to tell you that you don't need it, and raise you to believe that all these other people are wrong. All the other kids, their parents are all wrong because they buy their child new clothes, new shoes, new coats, new nice things for like binders or whatever they need in school, and or for play. But they teach them that they're all wrong. They're materialistic. They are just trying to keep up with the Joneses, and they try to convince the child, and the child grows up thinking that their family is right, and all the rest of them are wrong. And now, I'm not talking about parents that can't afford things. I'm talking about parents that can afford things, but they don't want to. Okay, for some of them that believe in that it's all materialistic and you don't need all that, they may have been raised that way, and it could have been generations raised that way, or they could be working in some kind of a field that it won't do them any harm to like not have nice clothing, and they have they just don't really need much. Some people, like, say in the future, they don't prepare you for, so you're interested in something that's going to require you to go to college and earn degrees, or a university. And once you do, you find a way, you're on your own, you go to school, you get student loans or whatever it is to make it. And all along you get the hint from people that, you're just odd, but you've already experienced that in school because, kids were, I might say some of them, not all, say something negative, but you were raised with that belief that everybody else is wrong. All these other people that need these things, they just think they need them. They just really want them, and they have them. They're wrong. They're materialistic and so forth. They're bought and sold by the corporation, this kind of thing. And you take that on into your adulthood, but it starts really causing you problems all around, because their ways. You just won't fit in, and you go through all this, and you get degree or whatever you need, and certification, whatever, and you can't, let's go down the future, you can't get a job. Well, somebody pulls you aside and tells you why. Maybe they tell you in a nice way, in a bad way, who knows. It's the way you dress. You don't dress professional. You don't look professional. You're not wearing, let's say you're female, you're not wearing makeup, your hair's very plain, And yeah, so people can say superficial and materialistic and all this stuff, and but it's how it is. Okay, you can continue to rebel, but you're not going to have a job, and this is the process. And some might get the job, but then like have one suit. They realize, okay, well, I'm going to go get this one suit for interviews. But then once they get the job, they go back to their old ways of wearing, secondhand clothes or hand-me-downs, or they go and buy a bargain basement and whatever it is, and not wear makeup, not do their hair, if there were, people who do, and the job just doesn't last long. Okay, now I have not experienced that. I did mention, I think, at that time that I'd moved from Austin to Dallas, and the way people were so laid back, they were back in the 80s. It was, even now, since then, so laid back that the way they dressed there did not fit here in the Dallas area. And I went to the interview, and the woman let me know. I was in my 20s. But I'm talking about people who were raised, clothing is just something to cover your body, to keep warm and keep decent. You don't have to have anything fancy or anything like that. Well, that might be okay for them, like I was saying, because they work in something, whatever they work in, they don't have to. But you have aspirations for something different, and they may have thought simply, you're going to follow in their footsteps, plain and simple, that's it. But you weren't going to. You had decided else, otherwise, what you were going to do. And changing with with that can be very difficult. And go back to the parents that taught them that they don't deserve things. That's okay. But yeah, I can talk about that part later. But more on this, like if you are that type of person that you move on from what your family was doing, the way they saw it, that they were the perfect ones. They were the ones who were right. And everybody, all the people who weren't like them, they were wrong. And they were working in fields they didn't need all that stuff. And so therefore you didn't need it. And you moved on. And then you realize you have to buy yourself the stuff. You can't drive an old clunker that's an old-fashioned term for it, but to work, it is something about image and the company's image. You're parking on their parking area and in their parking area, and it's just their image, and that's how they are, and you want that job. You buy clothes, if you wear makeup, and you get your hair done, and whatever it is, you feel like you need to fit in. Now, I'm more of I don't want to fit in. I was, too non-traditional, and still am, and yes, it can cause me problems, and it has. Okay, there wasn't enough people out there, and that's another thing. They're not going to be telling you this, that you need to fit in, because they don't see things that way. And then let me finish that part. Once you do get all this stuff, and you do that because you need to keep the job that you want and the lifestyle that you want and eventually grow into, when you do go back home, they'll treat you like you have forgotten your roots. And that's the way they'll put it, something like that. That you've become, what's that term for it? Basically like all fancy, highfalutin. That's old-fashioned. Isn't that it? Highfalutin or something like that. But they're going to make you feel like you're one of those people. Okay, one of those bad people. You've forgotten what it's all about. When no, you had to change to fit what you want to be. And they'll make you feel bad about it. Some of them. This is not one size fits all in anything along this line. Anyway, so once you grow, you get your own family, and you don't teach them that. I mean, that kind of thing can cause you all kinds of problems. You might not even, be able to date, because people say use backwoods or, backwards all around, or you're just not. some would see it as even that, like if you don't take care of yourself and wear the proper clothing, makeup, hair, whatever, they would see you as, well, various ways, really. That you just don't take care of yourself. The whole thing of self-care. You just, lazy, you're, so on and so forth. And finding somebody to date, they don't want to be with somebody who's like that. They don't want to date somebody who doesn't see. And when it comes down to it, it will be something like their own self-worth in a way. That they do deserve it. That they did the work. That what fit for their parents and their parents' ways, for the people who weren't as cruel, that's for them, but that's not for you. This kind of thought. And realize that and be a mature adult and say, this is what I have to do. And be proud of it. I mean, I'm not so prideful. I'm not real high on pride. That somebody must feel all that pride, but feel comfortable with themselves and their decisions that they made for what they were doing. Okay, now for the ones that taught that they don't deserve it and they're just a burden, that can be so bad for them as they grow become adults, and they've already had in their head, they're pounded into their brain that they're just not deserving of anything. And basically, if they got anything, that they should be so extremely happy that they got this little bitty thing, whatever. And it would cause some people to be where they're not going to fit in. That can be both ways, but they're going to be backwards. Not backwards, but not very developed. They've been treated, they continue to do things that like they infantilize the child and continue. You don't deserve, only adults deserve, only we deserve, you don't. And but it can cause them so many problems in adulthood of just feeling that they don't deserve. So they might just go for anybody if they can attract somebody. They don't care because they don't feel deserving of someone that isn't abusive, say. They, like their parents. If that's all they know, that they think that that's what they deserve, is somebody like their parents to continue on that kind of abuse. And they don't even probably think in terms of deserve at all, because they've been told they don't deserve anything. So they feel lucky, that they got somebody. And pretty much the same way about the rest, like jobs or, forget education. They don't deserve that. And that's what they're told, is that they don't deserve it. Say narcissistic parents or however abusive parents. And so they don't really go for much. It's like whatever they, just happen upon, they get like a job, paying, not paying them enough to survive. Makes their parents proud. Or parents about like that, they might make them happy because they've told them all along that you don't deserve, and they're saying, see there, you didn't even deserve as an adult. So there's some sick people out there, and so they never really strive for more, or some might have the reaction of the opposite and say, I'm out of here, I'm the heck out of Dodge, and I'm going to go and do whatever I have to do to make it, not anything illegal. Well, some might, but they're going to push so they can make it in the world, and it's probably going to be very difficult if you're raised believing and truly being told you don't deserve. Some people would. It just depends so much on what happens that some will internalize it and some will believe it, and even if it's just like some people call it subconsciously, it's there. And their whole life, their whole adulthood was basically ruined by that. And, Now, as an adult, some people can get these jobs and they're treated poorly by other people there. You know, it's not their fault, but they're treated not as equal by others, and it's the whole thing. It all wraps around. Like I said, I don't like to blame victims, and but they see that it is the way it should be. Like if you're at a job and somebody treats you, you know, wrong, people treat you like, you know, they can throw away all the work on you because you know, they have achieved something higher than you when they're at the same level, and so they deserve breaks and stuff like that. But you have to work harder, you know. Or they just treat them, they infantilize them, treat them like a child, or you know. And some people, like I said, could be abusive and say, hey, you know, you're really not fitting in because of the way you look, and you need to do something about that. And just rude. However, it could get ruder than that. Oh my goodness, yeah. And I mean, it can go on through their life, their whole life, with that kind of thing. And it's not good. It's not good at all. But you know, nowadays, there's more information, more people talking about these things. I think there's more awareness. I mean, more awareness, of course. But if they know how to get it, they know to go online. Now, some of the stuff you hear online is a bunch of BS, true, and but some of it, when it's just somebody expressing what they've been through, they've seen, or they've known other people to see, and they're not trying to speak as a voice of authority on it. They know who they are, and they state who they are, what they are. Yeah, you experienced it, but maybe they don't have the education behind it, and they state that. You know, and that in itself is it's a good thing when people, they know who they are, and they know what are their limitations, and they don't have a problem stating that. And the people who don't, Anyway, I think that's enough for this video. It's it's a little chilly out. Yesterday, I saw at one point our heat index was 100. Here it is, almost the middle of October. And today, right now, it's 77 degrees at 10:39 a.m. I think our high is going to be 80. So, I mean, the actual temperature, 80, 81, somewhere around there. Yeah. But anyway, I like to add something. I think I'm going to start adding it to the end of it. It's more about what's going on. Yeah, stuff like that. Anyway, wrapping it up. Talk to you on another video.